Due to modern-day forensic techniques and the advancement of detective practices, it's quite rare for somebody to get away with murder these days. So you'd think that if somebody were to kill someone in broad daylight, in a busy area, with witnesses who saw the killer, there would be no way that this person could get away with a crime, right? Well, this isn't always the case. This crime takes place in California on the 12th of June, 2006. Most mornings, a 72-year-old man named Edward Pollitelli would leave his Canyon Country retirement complex and volunteer at the Mamma Mia Pizza and Pasta restaurant in Stevenson Ranch. Eddie had worked here before his retirement, but he liked to help out his friends. He arrived at the restaurant to prepare the menu for the day. The restaurant didn't open until 11 a.m, but Eddie would always like to get there early to make his very own signature Italian tomato sauce. Eddie lived in the retirement complex with his dog, that he jokingly called his wife. He was rather close with his dog, and I can imagine his small companion had helped him through a lot. Eddie was married, but he had had a divorce sometime in the 80s, and sadly, his only child passed away from cancer in the year 2000. On the morning, as the sun began to rise at around 8 a.m, the fresh produce delivery man came to bring lettuce and tomatoes. Eddie was known to be a rather hospitable and kind-hearted gentleman, so he invited the delivery driver in for a coffee and a conversation. The two sat and chatted for a while at one of the tables in the restaurant. It was common for Eddie to do things like this for members of the local community. He would bring pizzas to the local Walmart employees that used to service his car for him from time to time, and he also baked banana cream pies for his fellow co-workers. He would always have a good laugh with the customers, and he enjoyed the interactions he would have with them. He would always make sure to ask how his regulars were, with genuine interest. Eddie would also cook classic Italian soups that weren't on the menu for long-time customers and friends. He was the kind of person that was hard not to like, and that made the next series of events all the more confusing. After a few minutes, the driver had to continue on with his deliveries for the day, so he finished his coffee and went on his way. At around 8:30 a.m, Eddie was sitting alone in the same chair where he had sat and conversed with the delivery man, when all of a sudden, a man entered the restaurant through the unlocked front door. This man was wielding a machete in one hand and a gun in the other. The man approached Eddie and forced him through the kitchen and out through a door that led to an alleyway behind the restaurant. The owner of the restaurant was a man named Anthony Sposato, and he just so happened to arrive at the restaurant ready to start his day's work. But as he walked into the kitchen, he noticed that the door leading to the alleyway was open. Then, Anthony heard Eddie pleading with someone, saying, "Don't hurt me, I don't have anything." The co-worker thought that Eddie was simply joking around. How wrong he was. He quickly realized that this was not a joke or a prank. Anthony was too scared to go through the back doorway, so he ran out of the restaurant, around the building, to the back of the alleyway. And there, he saw a man standing next to Eddie, with a machete in his hand. Eddie saw Anthony standing there, and pleaded for help, shouting, "Help me, he has a gun." Eddie then attempted to run from the attacker, but unfortunately, he was too old, and he suffered from mobility issues. He was unsuccessful. The attacker grabbed the back of his shirt and threw the 72-year-old man to the ground. He then raised the machete that was in his hand and began to swing down and hack at Eddie's body as he lay on the ground defenseless. Knowing he was completely useless, unarmed against a man with a machete, Anthony ran outside to find help. He shouted for some nearby workers to call 911 immediately, and he grabbed a shovel from a work vehicle. He then returned to the location where the attacker and Eddie were. Once he returned, he saw Eddie lifeless on the ground, and the man still hacking at his body with an 18-inch blade. Anthony banged the shovel on the ground and shouted at the man, saying, "Leave him alone, he's just an old man." The attacker ignored the request and continued the violent attack. Anthony just had to stand there and watch as his friend and fellow colleague was hacked to death in front of him. Then, the man stopped. He walked north out of the other end of the alley, got into a grey car, and fled the bloody scene. Witnesses would later tell the investigators that the attacker left in a silver Dodge Magnum station wagon, but frustratingly, no one was close enough to get a good look at either the suspect or the vehicle's license plates. And at the time of the killing, this car was a rather popular one, which meant tracking down the car would be tricky, but not impossible. Eddie suffered cuts to his left ear and his fingers on his right hand when he tried to block the attacks. He had suffered multiple stab wounds to his chest, lower abdomen, lower back, and a vertical stab wound down the middle of his body and chest bone. By the time the paramedics had got to the scene, Eddie had lost over a quarter of the blood in his body. Whoever had attacked Eddie had done so in an extremely violent and calculated manner, and sadly, Eddie was pronounced dead at the scene. But think about this. Why would this man hack Eddie with such violence when he had a gun? Surely a gun would have been quicker and easier and way more efficient. Yet, he opted for the more brutal and personal weapon. An investigation was soon underway, and the police were confused from the start. At first, they thought this must have been a robbery that had gone wrong, but they quickly learned that no money had been taken from the establishment, and the person who had killed Eddie just seemed more focused on butchering him. The killer was described as a clean-shaven Caucasian or Latino male, between the ages of 25 to 30. He was around 5'7" in height, and weighed around 160 pounds. He was dressed casually, in a white t-shirt, blue jeans, and a black hoodie. He also carried a backpack over one shoulder. Anthony was also able to help the police create this composite sketch. What I found strange is that the only CCTV footage that was released were these blurry stills from a business that was adjacent from Mamma Mia's. The police believe that this man is the person who killed Eddie. There are several theories surrounding this case, ranging from all manner of things. Could this simply be a case of mistaken identity? Well, possibly, although the attacker was up close and should have been able to tell that he had the wrong target. Plus, it seems like he went to Mamma Mia's with purpose, getting there at 8:30 in the morning with 2 weapons. Could this be some kind of gang initiation? It's not uncommon for gangs to have these kinds of ritualistic initiations, where you are told to kill someone in a horrendous way, to become a member and to prove your loyalty. This could be plausible, as there were several tip-offs pointing to organised crime. But there was one thing about Eddie that was rather strange. You see, Eddie was missing an index finger, and if anyone ever asked him what happened to his finger, he refused to give the real answer, and would only say that he lost it when he was 25 years old. Now, this of course could be nothing, but in organised crime rings, a common punishment is to chop off a finger. Could Eddie have a secret dark past that caught up to him? Could he really have been involved in organised crime? It certainly doesn't fit his personality. So maybe he just lost it in a traumatic accident, and he didn't want to talk about it. But there's no way of us knowing now. Some people have even speculated that this could just be the doing of a mentally ill person who had a violent outburst or some kind of serious mental breakdown, and that this was just a completely random act of violence. It's just I find it perplexing that someone could do this in broad daylight, but still get away with it in an age of surveillance. A friend of Eddie's, named Tony Pano, said he had known him for more than 20 years, and when speaking about his close friend, he stated that this guy could whip up anything out of nothing, and when you tasted his food, you'd die. That's how good his food was. After the murder took place, Tony took home the food of that morning's cooking, knowing full well it would be the last time he'd ever be able to eat one of his good friend's dishes ever again. And I bet he savoured every mouthful. One of Eddie's relatives has revealed that someone called him to inform him that the two detectives who were initially working on Eddie's case were no longer investigating, and that there was a new detective that was looking into it. So, it seems unlikely that we will ever get to know who attacked and killed Eddie on that Monday morning more than a decade ago, and why they did this to him. And the $10,000 reward is no longer listed by the Los Angeles Police Department. Whoever took Eddie's life in this cold and brutal way is still out there now, possibly walking the streets as we speak. But who would do this? And why did he kill this seemingly harmless, beloved 72-year-old man? Why didn't the attacker use the gun? Why didn't he hide his face? And why did Eddie say, "I don't have anything"? What did he mean by that? This case just raises more questions the more you think about it and the more you look into it. But unfortunately, we may never know the answers to any of them, as the case has since gone cold. So thank you for watching. I've decided to launch a surprise video this Wednesday. What I'm going to try to do now is post every Wednesday and Friday. I'm going to see how it goes. If it doesn't go too well and quality starts to drop, or if I don't feel like the videos are up to scratch, I'll probably scrap it off and stick to once a week. But I'm going to see how it goes and try and put more time into making the videos so I can upload twice a week. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Hopefully it pays off. And I'll see you guys this Friday with a new video.